Are Harry and Meghan bad parents? Yes, I think the couple is really starting to panic over this narrative that's starting to come out. After we've seen them away from their kids for a good chunk of both September and now October. They went to New York last week, and apparently after that trip, they went to the Caribbean. Sans children. And yes, I know parents go on vacation, they spend time away from their children, but it also seems very odd for a couple who have made being parents such a huge part of their brand that we don't ever see them parent. And I think that's a problem that's starting to become more and more apparent, especially because this week, Harry and Meghan have released to People magazine talk about how, yes, we are great parents, we're attentive parents, we're there, we're good, we're everything. But you shouldn't have to tell us that, because we should be able to see it. We don't really need to talk about Catherine and William being parents and how great a parents they seem to be, because we see their children, we see them interacting with their children, we see their children interacting with them. There is a natural narrative that comes from that. But Harry and Meghan want to manufacture narrative and talk about their kids and talk about being parents without ever letting the public see them parent. And I think this is becoming a greater and greater issue, and one that Harry and Meghan are really starting to panic over. After their New York event was called out by me and I think others as being a baseless cash grab, after they're trying to promote themselves as these social media warriors, I don't think anything is particularly going well behind the scenes. And so they fall back to the thing that their parents and their children are a prince and princess and all these sorts of things. But I don't think this narrative is necessarily working anymore. And I think there are huge glaring issues that Harry and Meghan haven't addressed yet regarding their children. So we are going to go over this today because I think this is a very important issue to discuss, because there's huge implications when it comes to royal children. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany and I provide you all compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes a little bit of the gossip and drama going on behind the scenes. I should say drama because I don't like gossip, I like drama. So that means like veritable news stories. That's what we go with here. And so I would love to have you guys back and subscribe. I'm hoping to get to 150,000 subscribers by the end of this year. That would be amazing. And so if you guys want to sign up, that would be fantastic. I also have a newsletter, a fashion channel, and I also have a membership. So if you guys are interested in being members, that'll be awesome. I'd love to have you join, because I have been sending my members today some special behind the scenes pictures, because today I have been at YouTube. And so I'm in Los Angeles they have this YouTube event here, and it was for the holiday shopping season. And so with my fashion channel in particular, because I do royal fashion and everything, I've done some videos where I've promoted products. And so I was invited to this, and let me show you guys the swag bag here. This is incredible. So they asked us a ton of questions, and I thought the swag bag would be like this big. Like this big. Oh, no, no, no. It's this big. It is filled with clothes and bags and makeup stuff. And I don't have a big enough carry-on to get it home. I don't know how I'm going to get it home. I'm so excited, but it scares me a little bit. So guys, I'm so excited. I'm actually going to be sharing everything I got. I haven't actually gone through it. I mean, I can see some stuff and everything, but I haven't actually gone through it. But I'm gonna do a special membership video going through all the swag I got. And then if there's some things that I thought would be cool, maybe I'll show them on here and everything for you guys if you would be interested. But I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it's huge. When they brought that on stage, I was like, I had to fly home. I felt so sorry. There was one girl I met, and she actually has to go back to New York. She flew in last night and is like literally on a red eye and is flying back this evening. So I have no clue how she's gonna get any of that back. Best wishes to her on that. I hope she made it home. And guys, I also have a brand sponsorship with a jewelry line. It's called Ana Lucia Diamonds, and so they are lab created diamonds. And so I have my ring here, which I have been kind of hoping it catches light a little bit. I've been absolutely loving. And then I also have these earrings here, which I loved because they're kind of a flower shape and they kind of look like a big solitaire diamond. I've been having such fun with these, and these are little studs, or Ana Lucia studs too. And I also have my necklace here. Okay, and a couple other things here. We have King Charles and Queen Camilla. They did an event commemorating and thanking those who worked on the coronation, and Camilla wore the girls' Great Britain and Ireland tiara. This shocked me because this one is so iconic to the Queen. She has worn it on currency, on stamps, like it's so famous and iconic. And so I was really surprised Camilla went ahead and wore it already, just because, I mean, it's been over a year and stuff, but it's like so iconic to the Queen. And even though, I mean, obviously it was worn by Queen Mary as well, still just hugely iconic piece. And it was just, I honestly thought though, because of the way she does her hair and everything, it looked like another tiara that she has. So I didn't realize it was the girls of Great Britain and Ireland until I saw it. And I was like, oh, big news. We also have Queen Maxima of the Netherlands and her husband, King Wilhelm Alexander. They are in South of Africa doing a tour. We also had Prince Christian's birthday gala this weekend. So guys, if you haven't checked my fashion channel yet, I did a whole look on the reviews and the tiaras. So if you guys are interested in any of that, head over there because I'd love to show you more of that. And it was really amazing to see, especially all the young ladies, and there was a Cinderella moment. Yes, one of the girls who attended decided to leave her shoe so the palace could call her. Well, they didn't call her, they put a post on Instagram, like a lovely picture of the shoe going, well, somebody left this, if you want it back, please contact the palace. And I guess the girl apparently, this is what she says, was not planning on having Prince Christian give it to her, return it to her. Do I buy that? I don't know if I do, but anyways, so it was so amazing to see that and see all, especially the young royals there. I want to do like a young up and coming royal video on all the future royal ladies that we'll see. So like Princess Ingrid Alexandra, Catherine Amalia. We also have Estelle, Victoria, Leonor, Elizabeth, like just so many lovely ladies who are coming up and who will be the sovereigns of their country, which I think is very cool. And we also have Catherine and William obviously attended the rugby tournaments recently. I wasn't able to share with you guys a lot about that because I was working on my final paper most of the weekend. And so what I plan on doing is as soon as I'm done with my paper 2, I think I'll share it with some of the members if you guys are interested in reading it. It's about King Edward the Confessor versus the Earl of Wessex. And so yes, the Earl of Wessex is a very old title. And in fact, he was probably almost more powerful than the king, if not more powerful than the king at that time. Very interesting situation. So I did the crisis of 1051 to 1052. So this was right before the Battle of Hastings, not right before, but about 10 years or so before the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and those sorts of things. So that was a lot of fun to do. And I know we have a couple other royal engagements, but let's go back to Harry and Meghan. So Harry and Meghan apparently went to the Caribbean, into the Grenadine Islands, I think it was. Let me look. Kinawan Island there in the Grenadines, I'm not probably pronouncing it correctly. So this is an island series in the Caribbean, and the couple were there and somebody managed to capture a shot of them leaving a restaurant. And I know some people are like, well, that's not them. I'm like, it looks like them, it looks like them. And so apparently it was, and then a paparazzi got pictures of them landing back in Atlanta, probably catching a commercial flight or another private flight back to Los Angeles. And what's really interesting about this is that so they clearly went to New York because they went to New York last week and they spoke on Tuesday. And then after they were done with that, apparently they went probably directly to the Caribbean. Now there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Obviously people have vacations, that's totally fine. But what's interesting is about the whole event was about parents and trying to protect children on social media. And what do Harry and Meghan do right afterwards? And they even released this whole report, which they were terrible at promoting, by the way, because it really should have been, the report should have been released before the event so that they could promote the report at the event, but they didn't do that because I don't think they really care. And after talking about all this and the pain all these parents went through and everything, what do? They don't go home and see their kids. They fly to the Caribbean to have a vacation. And you gotta think too, they were in Germany, at least Meghan for a week, Harry for more than that in Europe last month. You had the Invictus Games, Harry was in London, I think for the Well Child Award. So there were things that they were doing that they were away from their kids for a period of time. So let's just say, maybe at the high estimate, they were away from their kids at least 3 weeks in the last 6 weeks. Maybe at the most 2 weeks, it's hard to tell. They at least spent half that time away from their kids. And yes, parents have business travel, they do, and those sorts of things. And so yes, of course, parents do spend time away from their kids. But Archie and Lily are also still very young and probably have routines and they need certain things. Like Lily is only 2.5, Archie is 4.5. So they are very young kids. So I feel like they need their parents perhaps more than other kids. But what has gone on so long, and I think that has fueled Harry and Meghan reacting to these negative reports in People magazine, which we'll get to in a minute, is that Harry and Meghan appear to be somewhat absent parents because we never see them with their children. There's been 2 times really we've seen them with their kids outside of carefully managed and controlled things, and those were both really the 4th of July, which was kind of odd. And you just wonder, why do you guys never go out with your kids? Do you never hang out anywhere with your kids? Because we see them go to dinner, we see Meghan go to the market and all these sorts of things, but never ever with their children. And I think Harry and Meghan are starting to get very sensitive to that and trying to push back, but they're not doing the thing they actually need to do to address the issue. So here's what we have from People. It says, Meghan is the best mom, and Harry is always on the floor playing with the kids. They are such a team. Okay, that's fine, but we've never seen you do that with your kids. Harry and Meghan seem to have this itis, you could say, that they want to tell us all the time how great they are, but then they never actually do the thing that makes you great. What the thing that makes you great is like Catherine, have Louis have a bit of a meltdown while watching a parade, which was too long. I was there. It was like 2.5 hours. It was way too long. So this was at the Platinum Jubilee. He started acting up a bit, and Catherine had to manage him, and she did it exceptionally well. And he was really snotty with her. He was like doing this to her and just doing things children do. And Catherine, like any mom, had to go zen and try to manage him the best she could without humiliating him on the public stage, without getting angry, or at least outwardly physically looking angry, and being able to try to contain the boisterousness of a child, which I think she did exceptionally well given the circumstances. And we also saw this with Charlotte. Charlotte had a little mini temper tantrum on a tarmac, I think it was in Germany, and Catherine had to like get down on her level, and she had to go look at the camera. There's people here too. But she did it in such a way where she was able to manage and mitigate that moment of a child just being a child, being 2, being overwhelmed by all these people she doesn't know in this foreign country. They're speaking a different language, and she doesn't totally know what's going on, and they have to act perfectly. And not that Catherine and William are expecting perfection. I mean, they want it, what parent doesn't, but they understand that they want their kids to act a particular way because they are on the international stage. And what I think Catherine and William are very cognizant of is making sure that anytime their children look back at pictures of them in the public eye as children, that not their most embarrassing moments are captured. Not them being, you could say snotty or bratty or anything like that, but just them, being curious and being courteous and those sorts of things. Catherine and William, especially because I think Catherine also as well, when it comes to her children's wardrobe, they're always exceptionally put together. Do I think the kids look like that at home? No. But what I think Catherine is aware of is that the pictures of the kids as children will be shown again and again and again and again until their deaths. And so she wants them to look their best because I think as they grow older, she wants them to be so proud of themselves. She wants them to look back and go, oh my gosh, I looked so good. Look, they didn't capture me in this moment where I'm, covered in dirt or something like that. I think she's very, very aware and wants to be very present and cognizant of her children's place in history. And so I think Catherine does an exceptional job of making sure her children's public image is something that they can be proud of now and in the future. And I think that's commendable. I think that's really, really commendable. I think of Princess Estelle in Sweden as well. She has been to these big gala events now. She has been with her parents at a lot of different events from basically when she was a toddler. And so she's grown up very much as a working royal, really. And I think she craves the role. I think she enjoys the role immensely. And I think her parents have trained her well to see the benefits of it and not see the issues with it. And because of that, people connect to her. And people connect to the Wales as kids because we've seen them grow up. And we've also seen them have their moments. All royal children have had their moments, believe me. I actually did a whole video series on it, showing all these different things. Like there was a christening in the Netherlands where like all the kids were like rolling around on the floor, and it was just very, very cute. And I think there's a great joy in that, and seeing kids sometimes have little bits of moments. Like Princess Leonor in Sweden, she has, I think, quite the personality. I think she was very much just a natural wild child. And so there's like an event where her mom and her dad go there, and they're in actually her duchy, and she's like 2, and all of a sudden she starts running into the field. child. And they're like, yeah, that's Leonore. And she's like done all these crazy things at christenings and everything, like taking off shoes and like parading around, and everybody's just kind of like, oh, you're so cute. But she is being herself, I think, and I think that's great. But we connect to her. I remember those things. Those things are things I think about, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen her grow up, and I've seen all these sorts of things, and I've seen the kids be kids, the parents be parents, and so I think of them as parents. I don't think of Harry and Meghan as parents. It's hard to think of them as parents because I don't ever see them with their children. And I think the children exist. That's a different discussion. We'll probably go into that here in a minute. But I think the biggest problem Harry and Meghan have now and in the future is that we don't see their kids, so we have no connection to them, and we don't see them parent, so we have no connection to them being parents. So when they hold an event like they did in New York, talking about social media safety, and they're claiming, well, as parents, we want blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I've never seen you with your kids. I've never seen you with kids. I don't even know what your kids look like. I mean, I know that's sort of by design, but that's also kind of a problem for you. And I think that'll be a problem for them going forwards as well. As time goes on, that becomes a bigger and bigger issue. But let's get to the big thing I know people are gonna ask. Well, didn't she have them via surrogate? Do they even exist? I mean, the kids can exist. There's all sorts of these things and these conspiracy theories and these strings everywhere of all these things people try to put together. But I'll try to give you guys a different spin here because I think it's gone on too long, I think. When the surrogacy things first started coming out, because Meghan was weird about her pregnancy. She just was. She cupped her bump all the time. In situations where she didn't need to. Where she looked like she had a big burrito breakfast, like a breakfast burrito, and she had a little bit of a pooch to her stomach, and she was cupping that. I'm like, there ain't no bump there, honey. I think you just had a big breakfast. And she made such a theater about it that looked fake because she just put so much attention on it that you could almost say, well, she's almost putting so much attention on it so she can distract from over here. And I understood that argument, and I did think that for myself for a minute because they're like, oh, look, her bump drop and it looked weird. But I have a different perception as time has gone on, particularly because after Meghan's pregnancies, when we saw her at the tail end of her pregnancies or right afterwards, she had clearly gained a lot of weight. And I think she gained most of her weight in that last 2 months. And I think she retained a lot of water. Not shaming in the slightest, guys, just telling you what I saw. So because of that, I think Meghan is particularly vain when it comes to certain things, and she's a controlling narcissist. She wants to control the narrative. And so I think as she was going through her pregnancy, if she didn't think her bump looked right, I wouldn't be surprised if she patted it from time to time because she wanted it to have maybe a rounder shape, maybe a different shape. Because Meghan Markle is very clearly a person who is not only a narcissist, but she has a lot of control issues. She wants to control and manage everything. That's why it didn't work with her within the royal system, is because she wanted to control every aspect of it, and you just can't because there is a hierarchy here. King, heir, spare. That's how it is. There ain't no difference in any family regarding that. No difference, except for the Middle Eastern ones, and they have a different system sometimes. But in all the European families, it's king, heir, spare, on down the line. And how high you are on that hierarchy determines how much attention you get, how much focus you get, and what you can do compared to the heir and the king, or whoever the monarch is. And if you are lower on that totem pole, you don't get to do everything you want to do. You just don't. And you also have to work within the system. So have certain courtiers, and they say there's certain things you can and cannot do. You can do this, you can't do that. And all those sorts of things I think really grated on Meghan because she wanted to control the narrative. She wanted to control how her public image was perceived, and she wanted to control what she could do as a royal. The problem is when you become a royal, you become a diplomat. And when you are a diplomat and you are basically responsible to the government because you act to a certain extent on behalf of the government, you can't do whatever you want to do. You can't make money on the side. You can't hustle and do deals. You have to work within this carefully constructed system because if you push too much out of it, the whole thing may collapse on you. And especially if you're not the monarch, not the heir, and you're the spare, then you become a liability instead of an asset in the system. And then I started coming out with Archie a couple days after birth, and I'm like, ooh, no. I think that woman actually did give birth, because she, you know, she had very full face and everything. And if Meghan Markle is a controlling narcissist, she wouldn't want anybody to see her like that unless she was forced to them to see her like that. And she also got to control this, where she didn't present her baby on the steps of a hospital. She presented her baby in the Grand Hall of Windsor Castle in front of a very controlled group of press. Remember, everything about Meghan Markle is about control. And if you think, and narcissism, that's a factor here too. But if you factor everything into control, she wanted to control every aspect of the narrative. This also went to the christening. She didn't want the royal family to have many aspects or much involvement in it. She wanted, yes, the royals to be there, but she didn't want us to tell us who the godparents were. Not because I don't think she didn't want us to know. It was more because it was control. I know something you don't know, and I get to keep this secret. And there's a power there that Meghan Markle was using. And so because it's extended to her children, and the one time we saw her and Archie without the whole rigmarole of everything was in South Africa, and that was part of the tour. And it was also this big moment because, you know, in South Africa, she got to meet with Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And so it was this big thing where they could have this big sort of racial reconciliation style moment, which was, I think the monarchy was perfectly happy to have somebody with a background like hers there, because she could offer a different perspective and she could be a great asset to the monarchy. Meghan Markle didn't want to do something unless it benefited her in some way. And so this again just started to create cracks within the system. And so she was able to go there with Archbishop Desmond Tutu and all these sorts of things. And so when they left and they initiated Megxit, once again, we didn't see Archie much, and then all of a sudden she's pregnant with Lilibet, and then we just couldn't see them. And they started to play this annoying game. I hate the game that people play sometimes on social media. I hate to say it. When parents who have public profiles on social media, when they do a lot of posts on their kids and then they keep hiding and shielding their kids' faces. I'm like, okay, A, you either need to stop showing your kids at all, because that's silly, or you need to show your kids' faces, because this game of putting emojis over their faces gets really annoying when you're showing your kids all the time. You either need to choose one lane. You either need to not show them at all, or you need to show them and show their faces. Those are your two options, because it's this weird game people like to play, and I think Meghan Markle is definitely very much like that. The other thing is, if you think again that she's a rather controlling person, I think the other thing that Meghan Markle doesn't want to admit or doesn't want to show or anything like that is her kids not acting in the way she wants them to. When Archie was about 4 months old, 5 months old, he's a baby. He's not gonna throw a temper tantrum. He's not going to scream at her. He's not gonna cry and stomp his feet or anything like that. You know, he's a baby. But I think as they've gotten older, I think Meghan is more and more worried that if she was out in a public with them and they had a moment, I wonder if she doesn't know if she can handle it and doesn't want to be caught on camera not being able to handle her child. Because again, it's all about control and perception of control. Meghan Markle loves Instagram because she loves to control the perception people have of her and what they see of her. She doesn't want them to see behind the veneer. She doesn't want to see her kids having a human moment. She wants to protect them in a way that also protects her. Because I think of Meghan Markle when I see her, and why this, I think, vacation thing is so interesting that they did recently, is because I think Meghan doesn't want to ever be inconvenienced by her kids. Because she's again, going back to the control issue, she wants to do things when she wants to do things, and she doesn't want to worry about her kids interfering in that. And so if she can get by without bringing them, that's fantastic. Hey, that's great, because then she doesn't have to worry about dealing with them. She can have somebody else do it so she can do what she wants to do, that she can pursue the things she wants to pursue. And so I think that's important to realize and recognize. But also there's something here that I think is really important too, and that is how the story and narrative of Archie and Lilibet has become so negative and toxic that I think it's something that needs to be changed. And people can have their opinions, I'm not saying that, but I think when people take and say, you know, they say Archbucks, or there's a couple of nicknames I've seen for the kids, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. I had them for a while, but I've lost track of them. But I think what that does is that it doesn't do anything good. I think it dehumanizes the kids, and I don't think that's necessary. You don't need to dehumanize the kids to get your point across. You need to work within what we see. And I think it's important to not bring the kids into any debate. except for the fact that we're talking about their parenting. I'm not talking about the kids themselves. I'm talking about their parents and how their parents are acting, not the kids, not whether or not the kids exist. Because I just don't think that narrative helps any. Because when it comes to the issue of titles and those sorts of things in the future of the British monarchy, let's address the clothing issue. Let's address the housing issue. Let's address being rude and dismissive to staff. Let's talk about the bullying. Let's talk about actual important issues that we can prove. Recently, I've looked at some of the links that I've seen of people going, oh yes, nurse confirmed surrogacy. And I watched the video going, nobody confirmed diddly squat in this video. It like literally says nothing. And people keep saying, oh, it's there, it's almost there. But I think at the end of the day, it'll come out and nothing will be true. And I think people will end up at the end of the day looking a little bit silly at some point, because some have given into this so much that it dominates their minds all the time. And again, I go back to the issue of, and I think people really need to be cognizant of it, is that these are children. Children should be out of the discussion. Children should be something we don't really discuss unless it affects, let's say, their public image, or talk about the parents parenting their children or something like that. Let's not try to criticize children or say that they don't exist. I don't think that helps anything. I don't think it's good for the kids going forwards really either, because I imagine Archie and Lily will see a lot of this stuff at some point. And I think it will, you know, perhaps be damaging to them, and I don't wish that on any child. I really don't. The only other issue with the kids that I've mentioned and thought of before is that it's clear to me in some pictures that it seems like Harry and Meghan have made Archie's hair redder than it is. And I don't understand why, because some pictures his hair looks brown or dark auburn, and sometimes it looks fire engine red like Harry's. And I'm like, why do we need to fake what his hair looks like? That's just silly. But again, that is an issue on the parents, not the kids. So I think going forwards, I will talk about the royal children, but I always will try to talk about them in a positive light. And I don't ever really want to go down the negative route when it comes to the kids. And I think that's very, very important. Because as somebody who loves history, loves royalty, wants to see royals stand the test of time, I feel like it's important to address how Harry and Meghan have damaged the brand of the monarchy, the royalty, those sorts of things. I think those are important. Debating whether or not the kids exist, I don't think at the end of the day will add to the conversation all that much. But what is interesting is that Harry and Meghan are really starting to panic over the public perception of their parenting. If you have to have a whole People magazine article and release new details about how great you are with the kids, and there was another bit I missed here, and that they are loving life as parents. We don't really need to hear that. What we need to see you is actually being a parent to your child. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think about the kids. I know some of you have very strong opinions, but I hope you appreciate mine. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.